Good evening, everyone. So, in these online lectures, we are dealing with the paper Environmental Education. Now, we shall start the fourth unit, Environmental Movements and Developments. So, coming to the environmental movements, especially in India, there are few remarkable movements which brought a change in the mindset of the people towards the environment. One such movement is Silent Valley movement. So Silent Valley, occupying an area of 8,950 hectares at an altitude of 3,000 feet in Palghat district of Kerala, is perhaps the only remaining undisturbed tropical rainforest in Indian peninsula. So the history of the Silent Valley movement is related with the proposed construction of River Valley project to fetch the need of electricity and irrigation to the people of a particular area. From the beginning, the project was started. It was opposed by many NGOs and environmentalists, as it could cause serious damage to this cradle of evolution, the home to many rare and unique species of plants and animals. With the intervention of the Friends of Tree Society, the courtesy of the proposed Hydel project was over in 1979, and it was declared as a national park by the then Prime Minister Raju Gandhi in the year 1985. This ecologically fragile area, storing rich stock of biodiversity, has been declared as Biosphere Reserve and now is under category of a hot spot. And another such movement was Chipko movement, so which we can remember forever. This Chipko movement was started by a group of villagers in Uttarakhand who opposed the cutting of trees. It is the first organized movement started in April 1972 to protect the trees against the commercial forest policy. Though this Chipko movement gained its prominence in 1970s, the real movement occurred in 1604, and a large number of villagers from the Bishnoi community embraced the trees in a forest near Kejri village close to Jodhpur and prevented the king's soldiers from cutting them down. That event has been recorded in Indian history as the Chipko movement. Thus started, the Chipko movement has now gained great significance throughout the world's conservation circle for its successful attempts against deforestation. Chipko in the local dialect means to embrace and refers to the method that has been applied to protect the forest from the commercial timber cutters. This evolutionary movement started by the villagers to save forests from deforestation soon got worldwide support and attention. Thus, the Chipko movement showed that the revolution of environmental rights and obligations is the more important aspect of environmental management. And another movement like this was Narmada Bachao Andolan. River Narmada is one of the largest westward flowing river of India and covers 94,500 kilometers between the ranges of Vindhyas and Satpuras. Due to the religious and cultural significance attached to this river, it is considered to be sacred by the Hindus. The Narmada Valley contains rich deposits of alluvial soils. The Narmada River Valley project is one of the largest water projects in the world, started in the year 1979. This project includes the construction of 30 big, 135 medium and 3,000 small dams on the Narmada and its tributaries. The Narmada Bachao Andolan is the people's movement that mobilized itself against this development of the mid and late 1980s. The argument in favor of the construction of the dam said that it is intended to irrigate large tracts of land in Gujarat, providing drinking water to drought-prone villages and towns and generate electricity. In October 2000, the Supreme Court gave a judgment approving the construction of the Sardar Sarovar Dam. The court decided that the height of the dam be raised to 90 meters, where actually it was proposed to 130 meters. Now this project is expected to be completed by the year 2025. National Test Range at Banipal, Orissa. So in 1985, the Indian national government decided to construct a test base for missiles in the area of Baliapal in North Orissa on the India's Bay of Bengal coast. Its purpose was to research, produce and launch missiles and satellites. Baliapal was chosen as the location for a variety of military reasons. Among them, its distance from major population centers, air and sea routes, the Pakistani radar surveillance. And here more than 65 songs about the Baliapal movement and the local culture were written by a palm trader, betel leaf trader, Purushottam Mehta, who is one of the leaders of this movement. The song celebrated the agricultural richness and diversity of Baliapal and the prosperity it had brought to the peasants. They articulated those commonly held feelings that comprised a Baliapali sense of place. They also evoked Hindu folklore and belief is in an attempt to provide religious and moral credence to the Baliyapali's claim to the land. And these are all the famous movements that were taken place in order to protect the environment in our country. And next, let us see the conditions for achieving the goals of sustainable development. Sustainable development is defined as the process of meeting human development goals while sustaining the ability of natural systems to continue to provide the natural resources and ecosystem services upon which the economy and society depends. So, sustainable development is a kind of development which is intended for the welfare of the people without disturbing the biodiversity of a particular area. The goals of the sustainable development are officially known in transforming our world. The United Nations General Assembly formally adopted the Universal Integrated and Transformative Goals for the Sustainable Development. These goals include ending up of the poverty and hunger, improving the health and education, making cities more sustainable, combating the climatic changes, and protecting the oceans and forests. No poverty or end poverty in all its forms everywhere. Zero hunger or end hunger. Achieve food security and improve nutrition and promote sustainable agriculture. Good health and well-being, ensuring healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Quality education. Ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Gender equality. To achieve the gender equality and empowerment for all women and girls. So here there are certain strategies for the sustainable development in India. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainable development is a vision and a way of thinking and acting so that we can secure the resources and environment for our future generation. We can improve sustainable development by involving citizens and stakeholders. Coming to the strategies of the sustainable development, the conceptual meaning of sustainable development is not to create an obstacle in developmental process, but this concept belongs to how we utilize our resources so that an interrelationship can be established among present and future generations. To attain sustainable development, many probable strategies can be useful, such as technology. Using appropriate technology is one which is locally adaptable eco-friendly, resource-efficient, and culturally suitable. It mostly involves local resources and local labor. And the 3R approach is one more strategy in promoting sustainable development. 3R reduce, reuse, and recycle approach, promoting environmental education and awareness, utilization of the resources as per carrying capacities. The carrying capacities has two basic components, such as the supporting capacity and the assimilative capacity. Supporting capacity, that is the capacity to regenerate, and assimilative capacity, that is the capacity to tolerate different stresses. Even science and education, the adequate resources and support for education for sustainable development are very essential in the present days. Improving the quality of life, including the social, cultural, and economic dimensions. The National Solar Mission has the twin objectives, such as to contribute to India's long-term energy security as well as its ecological security. Since solar energy is considered to be a non-conventional energy source, a renewable energy source, so it is helpful in sustainable development. National Mission on Enhanced Energy Efficiency under the Ministry of Power will target improvements in energy efficiency in buildings, management of solid waste, and accelerating modal shift to mass transport. The National Water Mission, its main objective is conservation of water, minimizing wastage, and ensuring its more equitable distribution. And the draft of the National Mission for a Green India aims to address the climate change by enhancing carbon sinks in sustainably managed forests and by adaptation of vulnerable ecosystems and forest dependent local communities to changing climate. National Mission on Strategic Knowledge for Climate Change strives to work with the global community in research and technology development and collaboration through a variety of mechanisms. And in addition, will also have its own research agenda supported by a network of dedicated climatic change related institutions and universities. The Climate Research Fund. So these are all the various strategies and various missions in organizing the sustainable development in our country. Thank you. Welcome back. So we are in the fourth unit of the paper Environmental Education. So far in this unit we have covered the national movements which are instrumental in safeguarding the environment And even we have seen certain strategies in enhancing the sustainable development. And let us see few issues, rather call them as treaties, which stressed on the environmental issues. The first one is the Stockholm Conference of the year 1972. The United Nations Conference on the Human Environment was an international conference convened under United Nations held in Stockholm in the year 1972. Some of the principles of the conference are the protection and improvement of the human environment, and to safeguard the natural resources of the earth, including the air, water, land, flora and fauna, and especially representative samples of natural ecosystems. The economic and social development is essential for ensuring a favorable living and working environment for man and for creating conditions on earth that are necessary for the improvement of the quality of life. The important outcome of the meeting was realization that environmental problems are essentially the byproducts linked to intense industrialization and the use of technology by the society, and therefore a scientific technical approach alone would be able to solve them. And the next one is the Brundtland Commission of the year 1983. The United Nations set up a commission to look at environmental issues in 1983. It was headed by the Norwegian Prime Minister, Gro Harlem Brundtland. It quickly became popular as a Brundtland Report. The Brundtland Commission researched into environmental and economic issues before publishing its final report. And the report is highlighted in terms of the idea of sustainable development as follows. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. The report gathered different issues related to environmental problems and launched a comprehensive gateway to sustainability, which included social, economic, political, institutional, and environmental criteria. The concept of sustainability created an ongoing work with sustainability within the different spheres. And the next is the Nairobi Conference of the year 1982. The Nairobi Declaration was adopted at the 13th meeting of the session on 18th May 1982. The World Community of States assembled in Nairobi commemorate the 10th anniversary of the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment held in Stockholm. The Stockholm Conference was powerful in increasing public awareness and understanding of the fragility of the human environment. The principles of the Stockholm Declaration are as valid today as they were in 1972. However, the action plan has only been partially implemented, and the results cannot be considered as satisfactory, due mainly to inadequate foresight and understanding of the long-term benefits of environmental protection. Threats to the environment are aggravated by the poverty as well as by wasteful consumption patterns. Both can lead people to overexploit their environment. The human environment would greatly benefit from an international atmosphere of peace and security. Many environmental problems transcend national boundaries and should, when appropriate, be resolved for the benefit of all through consultation action. Thus, states should promote the progressive development of environmental law, including conventions and agreements, and expand cooperation in scientific research and environmental management. Further efforts are needed to develop environmentally sound management and methods for the exploitation and utilization of natural resources, and to modernize traditional pastoral systems. Rational energy planning among nations or group of nations could be beneficial. Measures such as development of new and renewable energy sources will have a highly beneficial impact on the environment. The world community of states solemnly reaffirm its commitment to the Stockholm Declaration and Action Plan, as well as to the further strengthening and expansion of national efforts and international cooperation in the field of environmental protection. The Rio Summit of the year 1992. The United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, held at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in the year 1992. The issues addressed in the summit include the systematic scrutiny of production of toxic compounds or poisonous compounds, including radioactive waste, reducing global climate change by finding fossil fuel alternatives, reduce vehicle emission, thereby pollution, and even the water conservation was considered to be the dire need of the day. The major achievements of the Rio Summit are: the Earth Charter is an international declaration of fundamental values and principles considered useful by its supporters for building a just, sustainable, and peaceful global society in the 21st century. The Charter attempts to provide a new framework for thinking about and addressing these issues. The Rio Summit, or the Declaration, highlights the importance of the use of interdisciplinary managerial instruments for environmental management, and in particular environmental impact assessment and environmental standards. The declaration stresses the participation of the students and citizens of all walks of life as an important ingredient of the effective policy development and implementation. It attributes particular roles to women, children, the youth, and the indigenous people. In Rio, various NGOs prepared and circulated several drafts, but no formal or United Nations Earth Charter was ever accepted. The Rio Declaration contains some key themes that are working their way into law. The principle that the polluter places responsibility for spillover damage from one country to another. The Rio Declaration, like earlier UN documents, still had many shortcomings, in spite of the major achievements of the summit. Considering the major achievements on recognition and finding a solution to the problems, the Earth Summit was successful in bringing environmental problems. The main features of the Rio Declaration are: it states that long-term economic progress is only ensured if it is linked with the protection of the environment. If this is to be achieved, then nations must establish a new global partnership involving governments, their people, and the key sectors of society. There are a number of principles to the Rio Declaration. People are entitled to a healthy and productive life in harmony with nature. Development today must not threaten the needs of present and future generations. Nations have the right to exploit their own resources, but without causing environmental damage beyond their borders. Environmental protection shall constitute an integral part of the development process. Eradicating poverty and reducing disparities in the living standards in different parts of the world are essential. Environmental issues are best handled with the participation of all concerned citizens. The polluter should, in principle, bear the cost of pollution. Sustainable development requires better scientific understandings of the problems. Nations should share knowledge and technologies to achieve the goal of sustainability. And another such declaration like this is the Kyoto Conference and Part on Global Warming of the year 1997. The Kyoto Protocol treaty was negotiated in 1997 at the city of Kyoto, Japan, and came into force in the year 2005. The Kyoto Protocol is an international agreement linked to the United Nations Framework of Convention on Climatic Changes. It is a legally binding agreement under which industrialized countries will reduce their collective emissions of greenhouse gases. Excuse me. Recognizing that developed countries are principally responsible for the current high levels of greenhouse gas emissions in the atmosphere as a result of more than 150 years of industrial activity, the protocol places a heavier burden on developed nations under the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities. Coming to the significance of the Kyoto Protocol, also known as Kyoto Accord, is an international treaty among industrialized nations that sets mandatory limits on greenhouse gas emissions. Although the greenhouse effect is necessary for the survival on Earth, an overabundance of greenhouse gas emissions increases global warming beyond what is desirable. The purpose of Kyoto Protocol is to stabilize the human-generated emissions at a level that will not inflict further harm on the atmosphere. The Kyoto Protocol was adopted as the first addition to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, an international treaty that committed its signatories to develop national programs to reduce their emissions of greenhouse gases. Greenhouse gases such as the carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, perfluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, and sulfur hexafluoride affect the energy balance of the global atmosphere in ways expected to lead to an overall increase in global average temperature, known as the global warming. Although the Kyoto Protocol represented a landmark diplomatic accomplishment, its success was far from assured. Indeed, reports issued in the first 2 years after the treaty took effect indicated that most participants would fail to meet their emission targets. The Kyoto Protocol is thus overseen by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climatic Change. All 28 nations in the European Union have also signed the accord. Here we come to the end of the fourth unit. Thank you.